We're back for another Manchester United preview, and after losing to Sheffield United yesterday, we've got Arsenal at the weekend. So I thought I'd invite my friend Luke, who I haven't spoken to, like Amin, or I haven't spoken to like for 10 years from our school days, on to preview the game. So it's all good. So welcome, Luke. Thank you very much for joining the call, and it's nice to speak to you again.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
It's going to be so much fun because, like, at our school, Man United versus Arsenal is probably one of the biggest games in the year group. Obviously, it's Arsenal v Spurs, the top one, but Man United versus Arsenal is always the one where you get people arguing about all sorts of nonsense, and you just couldn't escape it, whether you're a Man United or an Arsenal fan or just another fan. It'd just be around for the whole week before the game would lead up to it. And we've got it on Saturday, I believe, we're playing you at the Emirates.
Yeah. Now you say that, I remember like the kind of atmosphere there was. Like you say, I remember Josh, Jesse, Femi, the whole even it was sort of a school when we played each other. It was always you either dreaded or looked forward to coming in.
And it was more the times at surprisingly, the more the times at Old Trafford when obviously we'd be winning, but we actually had a pretty good record at the Emirates before, like obviously you moved from Highbury, but I think when we were at school, it was just an Emirates team from like 2007 onwards. And that's kind of when you were phasing out from the Cesc Fabregas, the Haleb, the Rosicky type team into more of a flair team as well. So those were the kind of players coming through that were replacing the Vieiras, the Lundbergs and Perez's in midfield. So it's good. It's a lot different now from when even those players were amazing, and now we've got two very different teams, very different managers, very different approaches as well. So I'm looking forward to it. That's a lie. I'm not looking forward to it at all. I think we're going to lose straight away. I think we're going to lose, especially after the Sheffield United result yesterday. We were awful, and so many players were awful. So I'm just like not confident against an informed Arteta Arsenal team as well. How are you feeling about it?
I watched last night's game actually, and yeah, it's going to be a difficult one. We were in a phase, I don't know how many weeks ago it was now, where it felt like we was in a huge rut. We were facing relegation, and even myself, I was really doubting, whether Arteta would be able to pull us through. But there were things he was doing which I wasn't agreeing with. But now he's kind of, whether he's listened to the fans or not, but he seems to kind of learn his lesson a little bit, and as WILLIAN, even PEPE's had a little drop out the team and then brought in some youth. I think now we're on a surge, and I think we're only 3 or 4 points off the top or something like that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. As you said, I think we might have a slight advantage because we won against Southampton. So yeah, I think it's all to play for. And yeah, we'll see. I think now because you're at the top as well. What's the saying? You're it's easier to be chasing than be chased. So
yeah, I don't see the fact that with your midfield at the moment, and you've got your new signing Odegaard, I forgot to pronounce his name, but he's come in now, and hopefully he won't be playing just like that against Man United, because that's just another attack in your Arsenal, pardon the pun, but another attack in your Arsenal against a probably timid defense for Man United currently at the moment. And with our midfield, it just rotates every game and you don't know who you're going to start. So I reckon Smith, Rowe and Saka will have a good game against Man United if they start.
Yeah, I don't know whether Odegaard will start straight away. We've got a few knocks ourselves. I know Tobias is pretty big doubt. Mari hasn't played in a few weeks. It'll probably be Louise instead of Gabriel at the back. I think Gabriel was a bit rusty after his COVID the team. Yeah, and even Smith Rowe and Partey came off at the weekend, didn't they? A couple of days ago when we played Southampton. So yeah, it'll be hard to predict the team, but from Arteta's press conference, he seemed pretty confident on Partey and Smith Rowe, but not so much on sitting and Mari. Odegaard, I think, will play, but whether he'll start or not, I don't know.
And with the managers as well, like we've got Solskjaer versus Arteta, and I don't think Solskjaer's actually beaten Mikel Arteta yet in the league or in any other competition if they've played. But we haven't played you. We haven't beaten you since at the Emirates. We haven't beaten you since you had Emery as manager, and we won like 3-1 in the game where Sanchez scored. But again,
Yeah.
that was just a counter-attacking game from Man United. But with the team that we've got at the moment, we should be able to beat you, but I don't think we will. And for me, I'll just talk about like our defense to begin. We'll have probably David De Gea in goal, as usual. Don't see why we would change that. Wan-Bissaka plays every single game, but he was so poor against Sheffield United, and you can see why Luke Shaw's doing so well, because we literally focus all of our attack on the left-hand side, and Wan-Bissaka is just one of the. I've said it before. I'm not a fan of him attacking as a fullback. He's a really good defender, but he's not good attacking wise. And I reckon Lindelof will probably come back into the centre-back partnership with Harry Maguire as well. But Maguire didn't really have a good time against Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Pepe at Old Trafford back in November. If I remember correctly, those three started. But it's just going to be one of those just standard back four defences for us. And I reckon with the fluidity and the pace of Arsenal's attack, I reckon you could penetrate that pretty well. But I heard that Aubameyang was out. Was that correct? Or he's injured?
Yeah, that's one I just forgot to speak about, actually. Yeah, I think he's got an issue with his very well. But again, I wasn't sure whether he would play, but whether that might be a bit of hush tactics just to kind of put you off. Who knows? But I think Aubameyang, if he can play, he will. And he'll start probably, but if he's available, then I reckon we'll go with the whole Pepe and Lacazette kind of left and right forward up front again. I thought that worked quite well. Pepe on the right, just for me, is just not. It's too predictable. It's cut inside on his left, couple step overs, and it's just so readable because he's got no right foot whatsoever. But when it's coming across him and he can run onto it on his left, I think he's so much better. He's been criticised, and I think quite rightly, but credit where credit's due against Southampton. He was very, very good.
That was a fantastic goal he scored as well. The pass from Xhaka, again, not on his right side, where he doesn't have to cut in all the time, like a Robben or an Andros Townsend, those kind of players that love to cut in and bend it top corner, like finesse it really. But I reckon with Saka there, he can take it on his right foot, he can do different things, and that's why he's thriving really. And with Pepe playing as a left forward or a left winger, it gives him another option to probably just whipping the ball a bit earlier to Lacazette or to Saka, and probably testing the defense against Man United a bit more, because Wan-Bissaka versus Pepe would be a good battle to see, really.
Yeah, it's weird. Towards the start of the season, even last year, I didn't see Saka as a kind of option on the right. But I think Arteta's tried it, and he's actually doing really well out there on the right, to be fair. And you could probably put Saka in goal. He can pretty much play anywhere. He's really, really brains like a sponge. He seems like he learns all the time wherever he plays, and you can see that with England as well. But yeah, it'll be a strange lineup. I think there's a lot of certainty, I think, even in our camp of what the team will be. But we shall see. Plenty of options, as long as he doesn't go back to his old ways of playing Lacazette number 10 or Willian up front. I think okay.
We'll work it backwards, seeing as we've been talking about your attack. So who would your attack be? Would you have like a front three or a front four, or how would you design it?
Well, with Arteta, it's quite obvious. You can see that there's two kind of formations when you see us in possession. I think if I was to pick a three, again, it'd stick to a winning formation, as I said. I think they still on that left-hand side. Lacazette's actually been pretty good for the last few games, actually, and sticks out on the right. As I said, keep the faith and stick to what works.
I reckon it will work. It's just with Saka, he's got such a good footballing brain for someone so young as well, and he's playing with such a maturity. And the fact that you've got Saka who can play, who's left back last season, left centre mid last season, left wing last season, and now he's playing as a right wing, and it's just like he's owned that position for the last 10 years of his career. And I reckon he will be given, if it's Luke Shaw will have a good game because he tends to play well against left-footed right wingers. Like he did really well against Mo Salah a couple times in the last few weeks, but I don't get why we rested him against Sheffield United. I know Tellez is really good as a left back, but Shaw probably should have carried on playing, because I mentioned this before, you may not know, but with players like Luke Shaw, they need to play a good 3-4 games in a row to keep their momentum going. When they drop out of the team, it's not like a normal rest, because then they have to get back into form again. So I reckon dropping him against Sheffield United was a mistake, but Saka versus Luke Shaw will be a good matchup for me, I'd say.
Yeah, I think Shaw's come into his own the last few games. Actually, again, he's another player that's had those critics. I mean, the front three I chose there would obviously be if Aubameyang is not fit, but that's just kind of going off what we know. But yeah, I think it will be a good kind of matchup between Saka and Luke Shaw. Do on top. But I think, how much did you pay for Tejas?
Like £15 million, because he was in his last year of his contract as well, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, because sometimes managers stick with players that they've hung out, to get. That's kind of what our situation was with Willian. He was playing him because I don't know what the rumours were. It was his signing. He kind of really pushed for it. But I'm sure he's playing well. Stick with him, maybe. Why not?
May as well. Could see how it goes. And with our midfield as well, I reckon, again, Fred and McTominay were rested for the game against Sheffield United, so they'll probably start against the likes of Partey and Xhaka if they're playing. But it'll be probably like a double pivot with Fred and McTominay in the midfield. Then you've got Bruno Fernandes in there, and Pogba may end up playing as a winger. But with those midfield three, I'd say they're tried and trusted. They've done it before, but it's not very adventurous for a team against Arsenal because you need to combat Xhaka, you need to combat Partey, and Xhaka's always got a mistake in him, but this season has been not too bad. That's from what I've seen anyway. He's got the old red card here and there, but it's been not too bad, I'd say.
Yeah, with Xhaka, it's a very strange one. I mean, he comes back better when he messes up, if that makes sense. So you kind of need him to, not in the game against United, but kind of make an error, and then he kind of overcomes it and gets better. And I think with Partey next to him, he seems like a totally different player. But I think everyone would be if you had Partey, if you or Ceballos, who just kind of pirouettes in the middle, just constantly doing 360s. But yeah, I don't mind Xhaka. He's not a scapegoat necessarily, but he's quite rightly got a lot of criticism, and he does, as you say, get sent off, does mess up quite a bit. Tells the fans to F off. But yeah, he's definitely got qualities, and his left foot is often really, really beneficial to have in the midfield, as we saw again. Yeah, I think if both of them are fit again, you've got to play them two in midfield.
And he does have a hint of brilliance about him as well. Like that free kick against Chelsea, if I remember correctly. He scored that goal against Man United probably 2 seasons ago when it just went through De Gea's arms. It's just another long-range effort. And he's got that in his locker, but I reckon with Partey next to him as well, Partey's given him that license to go forward another 10, 15 yards as well, which I've quite enjoyed. And again, it worked well against Southampton, just giving that bit more freedom to run forward and not being that last man in the midfield where he hasn't been great. He hasn't been good at being that one linchpin, basically. But with Partey there, he's got that freedom to move forward as well.
Yeah, it's really strange actually how our team kind of works. I mean, as you said, sometimes it'll be Xhaka that little bit further forward. Sometimes it'll be kind of Partey kind of bulldozing through the midfield. And then if Tierney's playing, then you've got him basically as a left winger, and then everyone kind of shuffles over one. If you've got Gabriel as a left-footed centre, and he kind of slots in there. Or even Xhaka sometimes, comes back into that left-back role. But as we know, when the ball's over that side, he definitely kind of... It's a wise move to make, I think, when Tierney's that productive, to get him as possible. But I don't think that'll be possible on Saturday. We're playing Saturday.
Yeah.
Who's actually really good with his feet. So he's been slightly older than Tierney, so he hasn't got the legs as much, but he's definitely got the thing.
And who would you have in your midfield for the Arsenal team against Man United? So let's say you're playing against Fred McTominay and Bruno Fernandes. You got that double pivot ahead of you, and one of the best players this season. Has not been in form against Sheffield United, but he's been doing really well. He's just not really done it against the big teams. I know everyone's gonna say, "Oh, he scored against Liverpool. He's done this." He hasn't this season. That's coming from a Man United fan. We drew 0-0 against Chelsea at Old Trafford. We drew 0-0 against Man City. We lost in the semi-final to Man City. 6-1 against Spurs. I've mentioned it previously, but we haven't really done well against Arsenal or against big teams. So we'll see what Bruno Fernandes turns up.
Well, just hopefully we don't give a penalty away, which I think that's the running joke, isn't it?
Oh man,
there we go. sure you're probably bored of. But I don't know, my midfield again, like why would I change it if it's playing well and those same players are available? It's got to be Jacko, Partey, and Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe, don't want to overrun him, but he's young, he's hungry, and that's what we were missing. I mean, when WILLIAN came on the other day, when Smith Rowe came off, I put this video on Twitter, and it was when I think PEPE nutmegged a couple of players. It's really good to be fair to him, but he couldn't release it because WILLIAN was just trotting next to him and he'd only just come on. Whereas I think if that was someone like Smith Rowe, he'd be bursting, best to get into that position. But yeah, he's young, he's hungry, and yeah, I play in the midfield three.
Because I've seen that a lot this season, like more than most in honesty. Like, the young academy players coming through, the young reserve players coming through, and the young English talent coming through from not just our teams, but from various teams across the country. And, like, I mentioned Callum Hudson-Odoi a few times as well, and the fact that Tuchel starts him in his first game. Okay, they drew 0-0, but he's offering more than what like Pulisic or Havertz did, and Havertz didn't do well yesterday at all. Werner's barely getting a game because, like, I'd rather see Abraham play a bit more because he offers more aerially. He's a bit more aggressive than Werner. And you can say that about a lot of teams in the league. And we have an Aston Villa fan on our podcast and is very passionate about Ezri Konsa, who's been a revelation this season with Tyrone Mings at centre-back. So we can talk about this forever with the fact that it's just emerging really well in the Premier League this season and probably the best I've seen in years. Probably because there's so many games so soon as well. So people have to rotate here and there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if coronavirus has had much of an impact on transfers and money coming in and out. I think some have had to kind of go down that route, and I think Arsenal's definitely one of those because our wage bill and our structure and amount of players we've had to exclude and not even be in the squad or terminate early contracts. I think we've been pushed to do that, but I think many fans have encouraged it, and I think Arteta doesn't necessarily. I'm not sure. Well, at the start of the season, this was definitely the case, but I'm not sure he was too keen on the young. And he's very kind of protective of it. But now I think, with the way we're doing it, he's got to keep going with that, and that seems like a kind of winning formula. But no, it's nice to see some A-Lens graduates come through. The only one I am a bit worried about or concerned about, but his mate Knowles. I think we've had many players like that in the past where they don't really know their position, and when they find it, they're happy to play there, or when they are needed. For example, Maitland-Niles probably should be playing at left back because he's played there, but in a back four, he's not as good as he is as a left wing back. But that's when we played there against you last year. But definitely in the LFA Cup run, he was really good at left wing back, and Tierney is a left centre back. Again, that whole transition from going from a back five to a four would see Maitland-Niles bomb on kind of as a midfielder, and then we come up as a back four with Tierney. But yeah, it's nice to see. But yeah, we've definitely got to do another one.
Because it's the opposite with Saka. With Saka, he can play everywhere brilliantly, but Maitland-Niles, he plays everywhere to a decent standard. Like when I first saw him, I thought he was a holding midfielder or a centre midfielder, but you describing how he played left wing back and is a right-footed player just really explains that he can play anywhere, but it's just you've got other players in that position that play to a better standard. So he's obviously someone that could be playing proper game time at another club, but he's just still trying to find his position under Arteta. And again, going back to the academy thing, you've got a striker called Florian Balogun, if I remember that was his name, who's again another one of those youngsters that, he's like, oh yeah, I'm doing really well in the reserves. I need to be playing in the first team. I need to be getting a new contract. I need to be getting on the bench more and starting more and all of that nonsense. Because we've seen that from time to time. Some of them have gone across to different countries and played really well. Jadon Sancho, we've got Musiala at Bayern Munich. Those kind of players have done really well. But you also got players that are just there sitting in like reserves or on the bench at other countries as well, which isn't great. But what are your thoughts on Balogun? Would you have him start a bit more games because of like the lack of goals you've been having, not recently, but before? Would you give him an option to play or not just yet? Because he was in the Europa League as well. Sorry to interrupt, but he's in the Europa League as well. And he scored a few goals in a few games. And that's when everyone was hyping it up as, it's better than Nketiah, who's like next in line, basically, after Lacazette. So what are your thoughts on Balogun?
listen, if he stays, great. If he doesn't, want to stay, then why are we going to kind of force it and pay a youngster, ludicrous money if he wants to leave? But what I would say is, when I compare him to Nketiah, I do think he offers a lot more. He seems a lot more quicker, a bit more tenacious and stronger on the ball. Whereas Nketiah, I think, kind of hit a little hurdle at the minute with his progression. And he was keeping Lacazette out of the team for a while, but I don't think necessarily because he was the better option. I just think sometimes players need that little bit of a kick up the backside. And in fact, Lacazette a little bit deeper when they play together. But yeah, no, Balogun, he seems hungry. I think I don't know if he was born. I don't know if he's born in America and then came to England. I'm not sure what the
It's
thing
got
is. But
like
he can,
America. It's got American citizenship, I think. So he can
yeah,
play for the USA. It's like Yunus Musa for Valencia. He was born in the US. He's born in. I think he was born in Ghana, raised in the USA, came to England, played for Arsenal, then he moved to Valencia. So it's another one of those kind of like dual nationality type things.
yeah. So again, that'd be another great homegrown player to come through. But in terms of what I keep, yeah, I hope we do. But I know a lot of players at clubs are in Germany. I think Stuttgart was the lowest because of staff members there. He's got links there. Obviously got links on. But I just hope he isn't one of those players that we let go and then they become something. I mean, there's Marlon PSV, there's Gnabry at Bayern Munich. But yeah, there's just players that we've let go. You think, oh, that's it. Glenn Kamara at Rangers. He seems a good player. Yeah, so hopefully we don't let him go, and hopefully it doesn't bite us in the backside. But at the same time, listen, Arsenal's, as they say, you play for the badge on the front. That's what you got to worry about. Not, your kind of alter ego. There was a game where he put up a video with like a shush emoji. I think just after we lost, as in like a dig that he should be playing. I don't want the kind of type of players, get too big for their boots straight away. So I think Arteta's quite good like that. He teaches players lessons. So hopefully it's part of this lesson, we hope, and then get positive news on it.
Yeah, if only if it benefits the team. That's the main thing. It's like Tony Adams says, you have to be. I think it was Tony Adams who said that about Arsenal. It's like when you play for the badge in the front, people remember the name on the back, and like everyone from every club ever has like copied that name, that quote, and like put one of their club legends at the end. Like, oh yeah, it was one of our players that made it, but it was Tony Adams that said it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean we've had a lot of players like that where they might have been unbelievable, but they're like you said at the start, like Gleb, Rosicky, players that actually people appreciated and weren't always great 100% of the time, but gave quite a lot in the shirt. Players like Coquelin, Gabriel Paulista, players like that. Like really, you can see they're working and up. Appreciate it, but then there's still quite a few players at the club that don't necessarily do that.
Yeah, and hopefully that's something that Arteta can bring in, and hopefully it will bring an easier Europa League route for you as well, like just going through the Europa League and trying to get something from the season. We'll move on to our attack and then your defense. So with our attack, I think it's going to be quite straightforward. It's going to be the one that's done quite well recently with Pogba and Rashford on the wings and Cavani up front. I wouldn't start Martial. I wouldn't start Greenwood. James Matter barely get a game anyway, so they're not going to come into it anytime soon. Our youngsters, Pellistri and Diallo, won't get a game against Arsenal. But I really think Matter should be playing more, even from the bench. He should have probably played against Sheffield United yesterday. Is one of those players that will take the extra risk and the extra pass, and he will find those half spaces in between back five defenses, and it's happened before. But I reckon against Arsenal, Rashford, Cavani, and Pogba could hurt you, but it would have to be like another counter-attacking type tactic like we did a couple of years ago at the Emirates when we won in the FA Cup the last time we won against Arsenal. But I don't see anything bad happening in terms of Cavani versus your centre-backs. I reckon he'll do well, but Martial is just not on form at the moment. Wouldn't really want him anywhere near the squad, the starting 11, sorry. And Greenwood is still trying to find his way back because like you alluded to earlier, players can become really good so soon and they believe their own hype. And he's had a tough season. His friend passing away, getting criticised in the media, the whole England debacle. But Solskjaer did the right thing by taking him out the team every now and then. But he's not one of those that's going to repeat 20 goals a season every season playing from the right wing. So probably put Pogba or Rashford there, let them switch between, and put Cavani up front because, again, he was rested yesterday and Sheffield United had to come on, try and save the game. But we can't just rely on a 33-year-old striker who's still adapting to English football. But I reckon Cavani will get a goal, but I don't think we're going to win, personally.
Yeah, Cavani's actually surprised me. And I'm not sure if that transfer came out of the blue, but I thought it was a wise one to make. Because it was a free transfer. He was a free agent, right?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Him and Thiago Silva from PSG were like free transfers for them.
Yeah, I think it was a wise one to make. You've obviously got the dosh to do that, but yeah, I think we'll be able to cope somewhat. And I think, yeah, I don't know what's gone on with Martial this year. I've seen a lot of stuff again, a bit of, and Greenwood again. Even last year, there was that whole comparison between him and Saka, but you can't compare the two. But yeah, I think what you said there will probably be your lineup, and I think it will cause us issues. I don't think Gabriel will play. I think it'll be Luiz. So I think players have fun against Luiz, as we saw again. He is prone to a little bit of silliness, but yeah, I think our back four. I think it'll be Bellerin. He'll probably be captain side. Young's not there. Who Bellerin can be hit and miss. Again, he's a bit strange in terms of his personality, and I think he's dedicated, but he's a bit, yeah, as I said, hit and miss when it comes to games. But he can get missed sometimes. I think it will be Holding, who I think has actually been superb in recent weeks. And I couldn't believe he'd only just hit 100 games. Obviously, I forgot that he had his injury. But yeah, he's superb, and he's someone who fought to the last second. And that's it. Again, like we were speaking about, that you want at your club, and I think he's done really, really well. Bided his time. He was close to going to Newcastle. If it's deadline day, but definitely within the transfer window last time. But Arteta, I think, was impressed just by his kind of leadership and his kind of aura around the dressing room. So he kept him. And I think it'll be Luiz next to him, who, as I said, has his moments, but I think Gabriel at the minute is having his moments, so he might be the more experienced one. We'll see. And then left back, I think it will still be Cedric if Tierney doesn't play.
Oh, is Tierney injured? Because I know you've seen him playing against Southampton, but is he injured for a while? Like,
no, he's not out for a long while. But he, from what I know, his tests. He trained yesterday, but in terms of match fitness, I'm not sure is up to it from what Arteta says. But again, whether we know that's true or not, we don't know. But it'll be Tierney or Cedric, I think.
yeah, it's just with Bellerin as well. Like, Bellerin's one of those like Luke Shaw. Like, you don't know what kind of play you're going to get whenever the season starts, and you're just there like, is he going to perform this season? Is he not? Is he distracted? Is he going to get another injury? And things like that happen with players, and it's natural. And we just need to see how it all goes. And I'm guessing you're going to have Bernd Leno in goal, who's been one of your best players this season, despite you conceding loads, but he's still there. He's still doing a good job. And that's something that goalkeepers don't get enough credit for. The fact that even though your team are conceding goals, they're still keeping more out. He's grown in his presence, really, Bernd Leno, this season, I'd say, from the games that you've lost and drawn, really. Would you agree, or is that a bit too much?
Yeah, I mean, it was really difficult at the start of the year when Martinez went, and because he had every confidence in Martinez, and as we've seen in the Premier League, he's one of those players that you wouldn't really worry about making a mistake. I think Leno had that kind of prejudice against him this year because people might have thought we'd sold the wrong keeper. You know, Martinez had been there for years since he was 16. But yeah, like I think you kind of forget, as you said, about those players that do actually perform week in, week out. And I think his performances go unnoticed, and they only become noticeable when he does actually make a mistake or palms it somewhere he shouldn't, or just little minute details like that. But no, he's been superb. He does make some kind of match-saving saves, definitely within a few games I've seen this year. Yeah, no, he's decent. can't really complain about him. I think rather him than like to pick or something like that.
The T-Rex arms. We don't need the T-Rex arms at Arsenal. That'd just be a comedy.
Yeah, the Rito wrist, as I call him. I think he did. I think he did that last night again. But no, Leno's good. I like Leno. I think everyone, even myself, was just a little bit sour that Martinez went. It was kind of thing to have, one of your academy graduate. I guess you could call him that. Someone that's been trained for so long. He was crying at the FA Cup and stuff like that. I don't know. I think that just kind of hit home with a few Arsenal fans, and I don't think people have got love for Leno just yet. But no, I think everyone's happy with him so far. Yeah.
And it was the fact that he got injured against Mopé as well in that Brighton game. So that's when Martinez took over. And that's when all the love went to Martinez because he was, I'm not going to glam it up in any way, but he was telling his like backstories a lot in the interviews against Man City in the semi-final, against Chelsea in the final. And you're like, you're happy for him. But then he goes to Aston Villa. And that's kind of when it hit home for you lot as well. It's like, with us, our second keeper, Romero, is quality, but is no longer our second keeper because Solskjaer preferred Dean Henderson, but Romero's not put a foot wrong in the 5-6 years he's been at Man United. And then he's just been frozen out of the club, and we didn't even sell him to Everton when they wanted him. And it's just, it's horrible because you're just like, the guy wants to play, let him play. No, freeze him out. He doesn't even get a game in the League Cup or in the FA Cup or the Europa League kind of thing because we're just too focused on bringing Henderson through as a next keeper. But you got Matt Ryan in as another keeper as well, which is good because that Icelandic keeper weren't all that against Man City, but we don't have to mention that. We can skip it. I know. I don't want to get you annoyed for no reason, Luke. So we'll skip it. It's fine.
No. I mean, he was another strange guy because he wasn't even the first choice in the team we bought, and he had one of the worst kind of save to goal ratios or whatever it is. Yeah, it was a very strange one. I think it was our goalkeeping coach who recommended him to it before. Again, you've got plenty of good goalkeepers at your club, and I think Matt Ryan's a experienced, keeper that's done it in the Premier League and who's supposedly. So I think it made sense to do.
Yeah, and even with Leno as well, like when you see on like Sky Sports or BT, people like the pundits and stuff, they're more along the lines of, oh yeah, he's meant to do that save, is expected to do it, which is a big compliment to him. And it shows that they expect him to be one of the top keepers in the Premier League. So I reckon he'll have a good game against Man United, but he'll probably be tested a bit against Maguire, Lindelof, Cavani in those crosses from corners as well, because that's something we haven't done well at this season besides yesterday. But we're working on our corners and our crossing, and you can see with Cavani, he's got better movement than Martial, Rashford, and Greenwood. So he knows how to kind of trouble a keeper here and there. So we'll see how that goes with that little battle.
He's got a really kind of slight frame, Leno, but he's actually, I think, like 6'3". You don't actually realise. So he's got quite a bit of height on him, and in terms of stats, I don't know what the exact stat is, but I know that we're one of the better teams in terms of conceding goals from set pieces. We've got a set piece coach in this year, I think, from Brentford, something like that, who's actually done quite well. I know at the start of the season we scored quite a few from set pieces as well, but yeah, you've got some towering figures in there. I think with Cavani, Pogba, Maguire's a big old lump as well. But yeah, even ourselves, I think we've got slightly bigger and nastier team than we used to back in the day. I think we had days of having like Shelny, who again was really good and fantastic from set pieces, but again wasn't the biggest guy. But Holding's quite a big brute. Gabriel as well is a big. He's got actually two goals from set pieces now. So yeah, it'll be an interesting matchup, and I think De Gea is over that period now where he first came. I think everyone used to just go around him, and now I think he's gotten away to slightly bigger. So yeah, we'll see. I'm not sure if we'll bombard him or not, but yeah, definitely something that will be good to watch the game both sides.
I mean, after yesterday, you can only go and bombard him with Saka taking in-swinging corners or Xhaka taking in-swinging corners. You can get the best out of David De Gea like that because he's not going to command the area like he used to 2-3 seasons ago when we had like under Jose Mourinho is a fantastic goalkeeper, under Van Gaal is a fantastic goalkeeper. He's hit and miss under Solskjaer at the moment, so I'm not sure why that is. He was doing really well when Henderson came back in as a second choice, but even now he's not been great. As much as I want him to be the great David De Gea, he's not been the great David De Gea as we all know and love seeing him. So that's a weakness I'd say Arsenal could exploit from crosses, from corners, from set pieces, and just putting a man on him at corners as well. Putting someone like David Luiz in there or putting Lacazette on him, that could be a way of disrupting him. And Billy Sharp did it yesterday, just pushed him in the back. I thought it was a foul, but again, VAR
I
and
saw
that.
they were very similar issues, weren't they? Who is it that I can't remember who supposedly pushed the Sheffield United goalkeeper?
So basically, Maguire went for the header, but he didn't see the keepers like behind him. So he went for the header, you want it, and then Martial taps it in, and it was kind of the same situation, but he gave one for Sheffield United and not one for us. But we move on.
Yeah, it was double standards, I thought. But, yeah, do you think that the long term kind of solution is that you'll eventually sell De Gea for quite a big bit of money and then bring in Henderson, or what do you think the plan is?
Personally, I don't want to. I'm a big fan of David De Gea and Henderson. Like we've had this situation before. It was similar to when Ben Foster came through in the Man United ranks. So he did really well at Watford. He came back into the Man United team when Edwin van der Sar was coming to his later years, basically. And he didn't do that well in the big games. He fluffed his lines and he's done this, this, and this. But I think because he's an English keeper, people want him to do well, and I want him to do well, which is great. But I would keep David De Gea for as long as we could, really. Dean Henderson needs to properly challenge for him and not be someone that's like, oh, I deserve to be number one. If he deserves to be number one, he will be number one. And it'll be like the Courtois Czech situation. Courtois came back from his loan, became a better keeper than Czech because Czech kept making mistakes as he did, and then he moved to Arsenal. So it could easily happen. De Gea could get his moves to Real Madrid or Juventus or wherever, and Henderson could take over. But De Gea is like 30, 31 now, so still what, 5-6 years. Henderson's 22, I think, 22.
He's still a baby in terms of goalkeeper. Yeah, so he probably still got that one.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, we don't need to check our Arsenal.
How do you see the game going from an Arsenal point of view?
We showed a little bit more energy in our last game against Southampton. So again, I hope we hit the ground running. I think against Southampton we had a shot literally within the first minute or so from Lacazette. I'm hoping we hit the ground running. I think Lacazette's changed his game in terms of his pressing. So I think I hope we press and kind of force you to make those kind of risky passes, and then we hopefully can on that. Saka and Pepe. But yeah, we've definitely got some players in there with an eye for goal. So I think it'll be an open game, but I think it might be won or lost by one of our defenders making an error. I think. But we will see.
What's your prediction for the game?
I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal.
2-1 Arsenal. I probably would say the same. I'd say 2-2 Man United, and Man United will win if we actually turn up. But with us, we're one of those teams that will probably concede first, as has happened quite a lot this season, and we'll probably try and make our way for another valiant comeback, as we always do, and everyone will get happy. Oh yeah, we're going to do well this season. We're back on City's tails, and I don't think it's going to be a win. I think we will draw. I think Man United really need to buck up their defense because we've conceded a lot of stupid goals. There's that goal against West Ham I thought was stupid. The one yesterday, the second goal against Sheffield United was stupid. And it's one of, he just, like, De Gea cleared it, and then you've got like 8 people in the box, and then he just passes it to Burke. Burke shoots. The ball goes back to him, and he just scores again. And I'm just going to add this into here. Axel Tuanzebe getting racially abused for having a deflected goal go against him is vile, and it's disgusting. The fact that it was Man United fans shows that they're not fans at all. You don't racially abuse someone because the ball deflected off him into the goal or ever. But it was just stupid. It's stupid from Man United fans, and it's why I hate getting associated like with Man United fans online, because you're just there like, oh yeah, everyone's blaming Tuanzebe. We didn't lose because of Axel Tuanzebe or Martial. We lost because of the team. That's a whole cliche, but we lost because of the team, basically. Not everyone turned up.
I think every fan base has those toxic idiots that, are hiding behind a screen and trying to tarnish the name of, obviously the kind of old school teams that everyone knows, and you get idiots that try to punish that, and they hide behind silly accounts, probably with fake names, thinking that they won't get caught. But listen, mate, karma will come back round, and all these kind of silly behaviours that they do and stupidness will come back to bite them. And I think everyone's just got to come together and just, as we saw today, show support online and in their actions as well.
No, well put, Luke. Appreciate that. Karma will come back around. And what we'll do, we'll just end this little episode with just your favourite memories of the fixture Arsenal v Man United, and I'll do the same, like the ones at Highbury, the one at the Emirates, and what you can personally remember. Like people like to say, oh yeah, back in 1975 we beat this team. No, just like ones that you remember. Basically, I'm happy with that. You can go first.
There's been some good and bad memories. Games that I've actually been to. I've been quite lucky to go to a lot of Arsenal games, but the Man United ones stick out to me. If you remember, we was in actually quite suitably. Actually, was the kick-out races. I think you had the black shirt on. Bergkamp scored. That was a mental game. I went to.
Was that the one you lost 4-2, or was that the one the season before when it was 1-1?
I don't know if it was. No, it was quite a high-scoring game, I think.
Yeah, it was a 4-2 one. Vieira scored, Bergkamp scored.
Bergkamp.
And it was that whole Keane and Vieira in the tunnel thing. Obviously, you wouldn't see that at Highbury, but obviously everyone remembers it now. The fact that we won 4-2. There's a young Ronaldo, a young Rooney playing. John O'Shea with that left-footed chip. That was a fun experience.
I think it was a midweek game, and that's why I remember it, because I might be wrong actually, but it was definitely a nighttime game.
It was a midweek game. I was at a school play. I won't tell you the school play, but I was at a school play in my primary school, so I missed it.
Yeah. I remember going to that game. The one I saw this on Twitter the other day with the quote is when Ronaldo scored against us in the blue kit Champions League final. Not final, sorry, Champions League. Is that called?
Semi-final.
Semi-finals, and Kieran Gibbs came off crying half time. So there's some of the bad memories that I've had. Good memories. I was at the FA Cup final with my family. Vieira scoring with his last kick in an Arsenal shirt in the penalty spot. I was there when Henry scored on a Bouet cross. That was mid-2000s, maybe 06, 07.
Yeah, it was the 06-07 one when Rooney scored and then Henry scored and Adebayor scored as well. I forgot the order, but it was like that as well.
Was that the game Van Persie scored and then was it broke his metatarsal or something like that? That was a mental game. There's been loads, mate. But I think that we've got a proper rivalry, obviously not because of where we are in the country or where we're based, but again, as I said a few moments ago, we are proper kind of the teams that people remember, in terms of English football. Not the likes of Chelsea and whatever, but obviously they've got their big fan bases. But everyone remembers the Arsenals, the Man Uniteds, Liverpools, kind of old school teams who have these memories, like we said, with Vieira, even the Keown thing. I think that was brilliant. I'll never forget that. He's just towering over Van Nistelrooy, and he slaps the bar before that, doesn't he, with a penalty.
Just the giant bear Martin Keown was against Ruud Van Nistelrooy, just smacking him on the back of the head. Yeah,
there's just a lot of annoying bad moments. I remember being at my nan's house when Rooney dived in our unbeaten run, and then it ended. I remember that. I can remember it so clearly. I mean, my dad just walked out of the room, just went home. And again, on Twitter, the amount of stuff that pops up about that game and how I've seen Reyes getting booted up in the air before, and just Sorry, I've gone on there, but
no, I'm enjoying it. I was enjoying it because you're taking me down memory lane, and again, this was one of the original title races, and it wasn't, like you said, a local rivalry. It was a rivalry for title challenges because it would just alternate between Man United and Arsenal and Blackburn eventually in the 1990s. But Arsenal were always up there, Man United were always up there, and then the emergence of Chelsea came through, and then when it became like a three-horse race for the league and new dominance with Jose Mourinho. But even when in this decade, I was trying to stick it to this decade. We've done really well at the Emirates, but for me, one of my favorite memories was, you're not going to like this at all, but it was when, do you remember when Rooney scored that last minute goal to make it 2-0? We won 2-1 eventually, but it's basically a Louis van Gaal team against your Wenger team, and there's like Ozil, Cazorla, Giroud, Podolski may have been playing. I don't know. He may have been on the bench, but we had like players like Tyler Blackett. We had Carrick in centre back. We had Di Maria and Rooney as our strikers, and Fellaini playing as well. And it was just remarkable, the fact that Wayne Rooney. For me, that was the last season of when Wayne Rooney was the classic Wayne Rooney, just breaking from the middle of the pitch and just running down, and he scored that to make it 2-0. And then Giroud scored close to the last minute as well. And again, you're feeling nervous. You're like, oh yeah, they're going to score to make it 2-2 and ruin it. But that was a nice little memory for me. But it's always topsy-turvy when you play at the Emirates as well. So we never know what we're going to get.
Yeah, I think it's the same with us at Old Trafford. Three that stand up for me was... well, actually, I was probably a little bit too young to remember this, but I remember it happening somewhat, was when we had a shocking back four. I think Luzhny was centre back with Stepanov. He beat us 6-1, maybe in our gold kit. 6-1 or something like that. You battered us 8-2. 8-2, you banned us. And again, I remember that exactly to the day. I was sat in a bar in Cyprus with my dad and my cousin called Hambies, and you were just battering us. And again, just walked out. Should have walked out after probably the third or fourth, but the eighth one, I was just like, oh my God. And then I think, I don't know what the significance of the goal was, but when Adebayor just poked it past, I don't know if it was Kushak or Van der Sar in goal, and he's in the yellow kit. I think it was just 1-0 we won.
He handballed it. That was the significance of it. I remember that now. Like it touched his hand and dropped to his knee or something, but he kept it in place. It should have been. Yeah, I think it was Gilberto again in that yellow kit, but it was something odd like that. I remember he handballed it or something. He must have done. But again, like you said, when you're in Cyprus, I was feeling the same when we played against you a couple winters ago. I was in Tromsø in Norway, and I was just there like on holiday as you do. And then we came back home to watch Man United versus Arsenal, and it was that one where Jesse Lingard did the Millie rock dance at the Emirates, and that's when that whole craze began, and it was all nonsense. But I'm like, if we win, we win. It doesn't matter. But Pogba got sent off in that game, and that was probably one of Pogba's best games in the United shirt that gets swept under the carpet because he got sent off. But he did that really cool. He just like rolled Koscielny or one of your defenders. He just rolled them and he just passed it through to Lingard to score his second goal of the game. And again, it's a rivalry that hasn't diminished in any way, but it's more for the fans than anything. And obviously Sky Sports, who hype it up every single game, and it could be a 0-0. We never know what's going to happen, but it's one of those things that just gets hyped up for games that have happened in the past, and hopefully it lives up to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping it's similar to the game for us anyway, where I think Ozil and Sanchez were unplayable that day. Walcott scored. Remember it?
that was an amazing game for Arsenal, but we played Carrick and Schweinsteiger in midfield, and you're just there like they're getting overrun. They're two old footballers against Ozil, Sanchez, Walcott was your front three, and you're just there like tearing us apart. And I'm just like, you can't do anything against it. It was fantastic.
That's a great game. I went to that as well, but no, there's some good memories, mate, and I'm hoping that it's similar this weekend, and I think that's what everyone's kind of relying on at the minute, and everyone's glad that football's back, and you know that these games are kind of keeping us sane, even though obviously players are running the risk of corona and stuff like that. There's obviously those people that work behind the scenes that are kind of risking their lives, I guess you could say, but it keeps us sane, doesn't it? And even doing like a podcast like this has given me something to look forward to this week, and I'm sure we'll message as the game's going on or after it. To catch up, because I think it's just part and parcel of our lives. I know my things are constantly about football. There's about 10 group chats I'm in, just football.
And so, it's just another thing. It's just nice that obviously we haven't spoken since probably 9-10 years ago. Probably met after school occasionally, but we haven't seen each other properly since our school days. So that's why I was like, it's a good time to just catch up and chat. And whilst I'm in lockdown and I've got this podcast going, it'll be nice to just catch up with a few people. And I thought it'd be nice to have you on. So I would really like to get you on with the rest of us, and you can tell us your stories of your footballing experiences and everything that you've experienced, really. And I think they'll appreciate that as much as I do. So I look forward to seeing you then, Luke. So thank you very much for your time.
No problem. I'll come on whenever you like, mate. Happy
no
to
worries.
help out an ex-grandma boy. No problem.
it's all well and good. Look forward to it. Take care, everyone. Thank you for listening.